Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Live's favorite podcast, favorite channel, favorite everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at mholder95 for Matt, right? And also Panda Supplements, TDL, discount code 35% off. Make sure you guys go there, pandasubs.com. Help us pay the bills, help us get this going. So definitely support that. All right, so we're here talking more training camp news, just giving training camp updates. Not a lot of film, dude. We ain't got no film today, but just kind of keeping you guys updated, giving us some thoughts on some things that's happening around training camp, and some of the news is coming out of there. Some of the alignments, some of the guys who were lining up where, and guys who were playing where, and some of the offensive line developments that we're seeing out here. So it could be interesting to see what's happening with the team, the Raiders. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about that, Matt. And any initial thoughts before we get into some of this new stuff?
First day in pads, always good to get the real football going. Like to hearing that it was a little feisty. I don't know. I kind of like that early on in camp. Like, shows guys want it, shows guys are hungry. You hear about Jimmy Garoppolo and Max Crosby getting into it, which I kind of like. I don't know. I kind of like that Jimmy Garoppolo has a little bit of an edge to him, and not afraid to mix it in and talk that mess with Max. So good to hear.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, definitely a lot more, shit talking back and forth going on over there from the offense. I mean, the defense is actually having which you would say probably a little bit of a better outing, just based on the news and the news clips that you're reading and from the plays that they're making. You're seeing they're kind of showing out. You're not getting too much about the defensive line right now, which is interesting. But
half of them are hurt. So,
oh yeah, that's true, right? I mean, and I guess like John Jenkins is getting first team reps right now. John Jenkins and some of those guys, and like Jerry Tiller, they're moving those guys around. But you're not hearing. I mean, Malcolm Kuntz talked today. I really didn't get to see what Malcolm Kuntz had to say, but we'll see.
He's still on the roster?
Yeah, I guess so, man. I guess so. So, a couple of things we can start off with here, Matt. Number one, Jimmy Garoppolo has been all over the timeline with his passes, whether it's interceptions or the deep ball, or even having some good throws in some of these situations. So, and of course, talk about him being a little bit of a different look, a different type of guy, different type of person basically than the previous quarterback, Derek Carr. So all that ties into it. I mean, Jimmy G, he's also on a pitch count, which I think is, I don't know how much I feel about that.
You get it. That with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like yes, like we would we'd love to have a quarterback that's healthy and never been injured, but with his history, you have to expect that like there's some sort of combinations. I mean, and vets take practice off here and there all the time in training camp. But I felt like so far with Jimmy G, it's like no matter what side of the aisle you're on, like you've got like fuel to the fire, like right, like Jimmy G's deep ball's not working. Oh, and everyone wants to pull up Derek Carr's on strength, and then Jimmy G has a good day, and then everyone wants to harp on the Carr haters. So it's basically been like that in camp so far, just based off what we've been seeing, and it's probably going to be like that for the entire year, where just both sides go back and forth. And it's, again, kind of two, average to above average starting quarterbacks that you're fighting and arguing over, which is unfortunate. But, I mean, like you said, the good news is, he is having those flash plays, maybe knocking off some of the rust early on in camp. And with some of those bad days, he hasn't played football in since November?
Yeah.
This is the first time. So, like, that's going to happen. And so I feel like it's not, like, concerning when it comes to the regular season and he's still up and down. That's when obviously we'll start to get to worry about it. But the first week, I'm not like concerned, but it is just like, it is a nice teaser of this is what it's going to be for the rest of the season. So buckle up, guys.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the news is coming out. It's not surprising to me. The deep ball, it was never good. So I don't know if people are so shocked it doesn't look good in practice. Yeah. It was never good, right? So, I wanted to hear how he was handling pressure. I really didn't hear about anything from 11-on-11s at all, from anything. But I don't know if he's even participating in those right now to even get a kind of a case, because I haven't heard anything from him in 11-on-11s. I heard a lot about Brian Hoyer, a little bit from Aiden O'Connell. I guess Aiden O'Connell was getting some first team reps today, which is when Jimmy left the field, but. So it's my thing. I do have a knock here. I'm just going to knock him. I have a big knock on throwing interceptions on 7-on-7. It's a big thing for me, Matt. I
That's
can't get.
fair.
It's there's nobody rushing you, bro. You can roll out. You can do whatever you
I was
want.
gonna say, especially in 7-on, just sit in the pocket for 10 seconds. That's the only time you're gonna be there. I mean, let them blow the whistle before you throw the pick.
And he's thrown 2, almost 3, I guess, almost 3. Amari Burney dropped one. Amari Burney got his hand on one, and it hit the ground, I guess, ended up dropping it. But Palomar got him, and then Marcus Peters, pick 6 him today. So 7-on-7 picks concern me. I got the story. I don't know if you know Matty Brown, the English guy, does a lot of Seahawks stuff, right? When I first went to Senior Bowl at the Scouting Academy, I sat and watched 7-on-7s with Matt, and there's this guy named Tanner Lee, man. I don't know if you remember Tanner Lee from Nebraska. But right, and he was just throwing picks all over 7-on-7s. And I just never forget that. Like, it's just something you just don't do, man. And so that's a little concerning for me. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It's like a rule of mine that a quarterback just shouldn't do that. There's no reason for it. So, but everything else is normal. But
I was gonna say, side story on the Tanner Lee thing. So Charles McDonald, I'm sure most people know who he is, was I guess at that same Senior Bowl, like sitting next to Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones was watching Tanner Lee throw and goes, "I bet he's gonna throw a pick on this next play." Sure enough, he throws it, and Jerry goes, "Still got it." So sorry, I just had to tell that story. It has nothing to do with anything except for that Tanner Lee got brought up, but it was just hilarious. But
yeah. I mean, that's probably my only thing. But I'm not shocked by anything Jimmy Garoppolo. I really don't get into the Jimmy Garoppolo versus Derek Carr because it's not really into the thing that I want to get into because it's just
the arguments were already annoying and stupid like 2 years ago, and now that he's not on the team, they're even more annoying. But again, like you said, like with Jimmy G, like we knew he couldn't throw deep. When I see these tweets that like, oh, his deep ball isn't there, I'm like, no shit. Like it's never been there. Like it's just part of his game. Like, and again, I think that's one of the biggest differences that we're going to see with the Raiders offense. I think we touched on it last time or 2 times ago, where this is not going to be the explosive play that we kind of like seen last year where Derek Carr hucks it up to Devontae Adams for 20, 30 yards down the field, even though Adams is double covered. It's more methodical, going to be more of those short chunk passes, and that's how they're going to operate. I don't like they're throwing deep right now, and probably because they're trying to work on it, and it's because it's training camp, and that's what you try and do this time of year. But I guarantee you, they're not going to ask him to throw a ton of deep. We're going to get those things on Twitter with the next gen spray charts all the time on Jimmy Garoppolo, where it's like laughable that he threw 40 passes within 10 yards. That's what it's going to be this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't want him throwing 40 passes either, though. But
yeah, figuratively speaking. Sure.
Yeah, but that's why I'm not surprised by any of it. I'm not surprised by anything that's really coming out about him and him, being consistent. It is interesting though; he's not doing 11-on-11s. I haven't heard anything about him from 11-on-11s. And when he was doing it, he was handing the ball off, and they were running the ball a lot.
Well, I think he's been doing some, right? Because like that's when him and like Max like got into it or whatever, that whole dump bait is going on. Like he drew Max off sides or something like that, and there's like a fumble and Max didn't hear the whistle or something. It was some weird. So I think he has doing some, but I think like you said, it's like a lot of inside run almost 9-on-7 kind of deal.
I mean, he says out Aiden O'Connell, man. I guess Aiden O'Connell had a good throw to Devontae Adams, getting them the first team reps, man. That they should just play him the whole preseason. Let's just not even mess around with this. Just play him.
Chase Garber's back on the squad. Don't put some respect on his name.
So this is what they're going to do. This is why Chase Garber's is back, because they're going to go Aiden O'Connell, Chase Garber's. Aiden O'Connell, Chase Garber's. Watch. Yeah. Which they should do.
That's good, because I really don't have no interest in watching 38-year-old Brian Hoyer play.
Me either.
So I'll be
good.
I'll be excited to see a little Chase Garber's in there, see what he can do. Maybe make the practice squad again. I don't know. I feel like his goose is already cooked, but
yeah,
guy's gonna be fighting. A guy might be able to play his way onto someone's team.
He's gonna get a lot of preseason reps, because I don't understand. I don't know why they brought him back. Besides that, because obviously they don't want to play Brian Hoyer, right? They're obviously not going to play Jimmy. I mean, he's not practicing. He's on a pitch count in practice. He's not playing preseason games. No. So it's going to be a lot of Chase Garbers and Aiden O'Connell, which I'm kind of excited about that. Get a good look at Aiden O'Connell. I know it's preseason.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing with, not the best players in the world, but I guess we're going to get a good look at him, what he can do when everything's firing. So I'm pretty excited about that, at least. All right.
What was it? Was it 2 years ago where didn't Nathan Peterman take literally every rep in the preseason except for like one that was like a knee or something like that? So I don't know. Maybe we'll get one of those from Aiden O'Connell. Just give him all of his game experience right away. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the running backs room has been, that's because the story. Josh Jacobs is not at camp at all. He's not going to show up probably ever. I mean, until week 1. But Zamir White is making some noise. They put on some pads, so we finally got some running back love. He had a big run today, an 11 on 11s. Big, they're tackling, I guess. So I'm going to give them some credit for it. I mean, they're tackling to the ground. So he had a big run for a long run. I guess he's trying to make some of the cornerbacks feel him with a lot of his power. So that's a good thing. At least that he's kind of showing some growth, where they're showing some confidence in him that he can get some more carries and maybe mix up the load with Josh Jacobs that we thought we were going to see last year when it wasn't, and kind of keep Josh Jacobs from having that 340 carry stuff that he had last year.
I mean, I feel like they're going to have to do that too. Like, because I mean, well, I'm sure you'd love to run Jacobs in the ground if you plan on not bringing him back. You also have to worry about the guy who would at that point be going into his third season's development. So Zamir White's got to get to carries and got to get touches. I wish we could get clips of like the actual plays, which I know will never happen with McDaniels running the show, running the tight show over there. I think they said it's like the media guys get like 10, 15 minutes worth of time to do film, and most of that's just stretching. Just because I want to see I'd want to see like with Zamir, like my biggest thing with him is, and I think you too, is his vision, right? Like I want to see like was it a run where he was maybe in a zone run where he was finding the hole or making a guy miss, bouncing it or something like that, and that's how he got the big run? Or was it something where it's like the offensive line just created this massive crater and he just ran through it? So that's kind of where I'm hoping to see it, and that's one of the biggest things that's frustrating for me right now at training camp in the position we're in. Again, wish we could be there every day to see those kinds of things, but don't get that opportunity. Because the other thing is too, yes, they are tackling to the ground, but I don't think that's on purpose. I've had the feeling that's just the intensity and guys going crazy. Like usually it's a thud up tempo. So sometimes that can get a little lost when you're not exactly paying the most attention on how hard guys are tackling. But good for him to hear him that he's at least playing well. Obviously it's a good sign. And, the guy that they need to take it over at some point, whether it be, this year for sure or next year.
Yeah. And I think with Zamir White really, coming out there and making it, basically running people over and putting that power on him, which I something I really liked from him in college, is going to kind of give him some confidence, especially getting those big runs in practice. Going to give him a little bit of confidence too. But I think it's a guy who's got to get some run in the preseason. I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, if he doesn't get a lot of run, that's going to tell us something too, how they feel about him. So,
if Josh Jacobs got snaps in the Hall of Fame game, I think Zamir White's going to at least get one preseason game.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But it's good. That's good to hear about Zamir. We haven't heard anything about any other running backs. We're gonna get to visits later, but we might as well just talk about it now. I mean, they brought in like Rex Burkhead and Damian Williams, who are actually both of those players are huge upgrades over Amir Abdullah. So to be honest, especially Burkhead, I think Burkhead's just like that steady guy who's just always good.
Was Burkhead on the Texans last year? I can't. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why I was struggling to remember if he'd played in the league last year. Gotcha. I mean, I've always loved Burkhead back to the LSU days. I mean, he's a guy that can block a little bit too and can catch the ball, so it's a little bit better than Abdullah, and maybe can run it a little bit. So
Abdullah can't block at all. So I don't even know how he's still third down back, man. He can't block nobody. So he could be getting crushed. But Zamir White's doing better in the pass blocking too. That's what I'm saying. Maybe Zamir White.
There we go. Because that was an issue for him at Georgia too. Like as physical as he is, like his technique was not great at that. So Zamir White, it's the we're moving on to Zeus, man. It's the era of Zeus.
Yeah, it's the Zeus era. I mean, if he can grow and become a running back, but it's all about vision with him. And I think also with him as well is that he can't make anybody miss, really. So the offensive line's got a ball for him. If the offensive line has a bad day, he's having a bad day.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really the gist of it too, a little bit. But speaking of any offensive line, it's a great transition by me right there. Offensive line shakeup is happening in front of our faces. Matt wrote an article about Jermaine Illuminor and his false starts, causing him a problem, giving Thayer Munford some first team reps. But today, Thayer Munford, well, when you guys listen to this on Wednesday, Thayer Munford was getting 101 reps with the first team. So Thayer Munford is on the move up. So we're getting a little bit of movement in the offensive line right now. I mean, mostly because probably Jermaine Illuminor is messing up. But
Yeah.
if sorry, before you go, Matt, I would say if Munford can take the next step, man, and become a starting right tackle, which I think he can be, that's going to be pretty good for this offensive line.
I mean, you get a 7th-round pick that's got to be on what, a dirt cheap contract, maybe a 3-year deal, maybe a 4. I don't know it off the top of my head, but
yeah,
that's great value. I mean, even Jermaine Illuminor is not expensive at $3 million this year, but obviously if he has another year like he did last year, that's number's going to go up or he's going to walk. So yeah, the ideal situation, honestly, as good of a year as Jermaine Illuminor had last year, is that Thayer Munford takes that over. Because again, cap wise, that's the dream right there. You get a guy that can start in for you in year 2. That was a 7th-round pick. That's huge. And I mean, I thought he did play pretty well last year for what he was asked to do. And again, being drafted where he was, the fact that he was getting playing time and seeing the field was huge. But yeah, I mean, to tease the article a little bit, one of the things that as great of a year that Jermaine Illuminor had last year, he also ranked tied for 8th among offensive tackles with the most penalties. And a lot of it was pre-snap stuff, like jumping off sides, some holding, stuff like that. And among right tackles, he had the most, or tied for the most. And that was the other nugget too, is of the 7 guys that were ahead of him, 3 of them were rookies. So it's like he's making mistakes that you just can't make for a guy in his position where he's six-year vet right now, going into his 6th year, and a guy that's been for the majority of his career, a rotational type of player. Like, this is what happens, and like hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. Hopefully he picks it up. But right now, Thayer Munford's the benefactor, and I didn't even realize that Munford was taking the first team reps today. But that tells you a lot. That tells you it was not just a one-time deal. If they not only pulled Illuminor, out yesterday and continued that going today. And hopefully that means, Thayer Munford stepping up and taking that next step in his career too. Because again, that can be huge for him.
Because to be honest, I mean, for a tackle to play as well as he did as a rookie, they usually get a whole lot better the next year. And I think there's a chance that could happen with him, where he can take that next step. And if he could become a solid right tackle, man, I think that, like I said, it's going to be great for the offensive line. It's great for the future of this team to have Parham, Miller, and Munford as lockdown, young, good offensive linemen, right? And I think that's very important. So just for him to be able to take that next step and they feel more comfortable with him, he's not getting those penalties. He's out there. And to be honest, like I said, there is more upside with him as a player because he looked pretty good last year. I mean, I did a breakdown of him against the Saints when he got a lot of playing time late in that game, and I thought he played pretty damn well. So there's some upside that Thayer Munford a lot that I really like, and I think if he's better than Jermaine Illuminor, then you got to do it. Even if he's not naturally pass blocking better than him, shit. If you're getting penalties everywhere, man. I mean, the Raiders led the league in red zone penalties too last year. I mean, we talk about red zone a lot, but that was a big deal. I mean, you talk about Jermaine Illuminor, who knows how many of those he had. So just him improving those penalties too would help them in the red zone. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I just can't help but think like whoever or whatever went through Thayer Munford's head to switch to guard for his senior year at Ohio State, like what terrible advice. But hey, Raiders are sitting here benefiting from it because again, I don't think that guy slides to the 7th round if he continued to play at tackle like the way he did, because he was a damn good tackle at Ohio State. I remember when he switched. I mean, obviously this past year they've had a couple good ones in DeJuan Jones and Paris Johnson. So they had Petit Ferry, who's starting for the Titans right now too. So they've had plenty of talent over there at Ohio State. But I mean, like that is literally working in the Raiders' favor right now because again, I don't think they get him if he doesn't slide to the 7th, and if he's balling out, even better.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. You having those 2 tackles, man, is huge to me. That's a big thing because I mean that's what the Vikings have right now. They got Brian O'Neill and they got Darisaw, and both of those guys Darius Hall's probably going to get a contract pretty soon, but they already got Brian O'Neill signed. And when you have those two guys, I mean, it makes the quarterback feel pretty good. I know Kirk Cousins has terrible inside. He's getting smashed in the face all the time. I mean, you watch it on the quarterback documentary, but still having those two tackles, you can you can make it happen. I mean, because the Raiders still have the Alex Barrs problem. We got a whole Parham gets better, which, I think he will. But, and then Adam James and Barrs are what they are. I mean, it's really, they are what they are. So, but I guess there's a little bit of a battle between him and Van Roten right now. So it's not Barrs' job for sure. So I'm happy about that. Thank you, Josh, for not giving him the job for sure. All right.
I'm still holding out hope for my guy, Moody.
All right. We're holding out hope for Moody. Okay.
Moody.
All right. Cornerback and secondary making plays. So it's one of the last topics we'll talk about is the cornerbacks. Brandon Facyon, who me and Matt found out that the other day that is getting paid a lot of money, but not a lot of money, but just more than everybody else, right? But he got hurt, and he was playing with the ones opposite Marcus Peters. But he got carted off. Probably it might not be as serious as it seems because it's a cart. Because guys get carted off all the time in practice.
I think they already said that they already said he's not serious, but they don't know when he's going to be back. But they haven't put him on PUP or NFI or PUP, I guess it would be, as of right now, which is a good sign that they're confident he'll be back. So again, another guy that hopefully was just more of a scare than anything serious, but which is what it sounds like. Yeah,
because if anything, he's a good depth piece of corner. But Ja'Cory Bennett is the guy that's really taking that other spot. As long as so is David Long. So David Long, he played with the ones today. It was him and Marcus Peters, and then Ja'Cory Bennett mixing him with David Long. And then Nate Haas was the guy in the slot today with the ones, and I guess he had a really good day. I guess the secondary's been flying around. Of course, Marcus Peters had that pick, and even Palomau had a pick that I talked about earlier. The safeties are playing pretty well. Morrig and Epps are not giving away any deep balls or anything, even though, we already talked about they can't throw deep. So we'll see how that goes this season. Right. But
are they?
Yeah. Are they really throwing the deep ball? I don't know. We'll see how that goes with them in the season, how that works out. But I mean, all these are good signs for the secondary, in my opinion, because there's still some damn good wide receivers out there. I don't care what anybody says. Throwing the ball. I mean, who's throwing the ball is important, but there's still some damn good guys. And if they're making plays again and being competitive against some pretty good wide receivers, because Jacoby Myers ain't no joke either. I haven't heard a lot about him, but or the wide receivers at all. I mean, I heard a couple Hunter Renfrow quirks, but I haven't heard anything about them. But go ahead.
I was gonna say Renfro's the only guy I've really heard of. I mean, not that I'm worried about Devontae Adams at all. Anyway, but yeah, Renfro's the only guy that I've heard of where I've heard he's actually been cooking guys up and kind of getting back to what seems like his old form. But the one guy that kind of stood out to me, or one tweet that I saw that stood out, was Nate Hobbs. Actually, has been doing pretty well. Gotten a couple wins against Adams and Renfro. In the one-on-ones, which those are drills designed for the offense and make it much easier for the offense, because I don't know how many other times in an actual game one cornerback's going to have to defend 53 and 30 yards wide, but apparently that's how we're going to run the one-on-one drills. And one of the routes that he beat Devontae on was a deep route, which has been, obviously since he got into the league and since he was at Illinois, has been the Achilles heel for Hobbs, and that's what it was last year. So another encouraging sign from a guy. And David Long's a surprise to me. I feel like we haven't talked about him much. I kind of wrote him off a little bit. I know he wasn't great with the Rams. So to hear that he's playing well, hey, another guy that could be in the mix. I have a feeling it'll probably be Peters and Hobbs, and maybe shift Hobbs outside when they want to go with their base package, and then maybe bring in Long for the nickel package and slide Hobbs inside. But yeah. And I love hearing that my guy Bennett is doing well. He's a guy I really like. The one guy I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from, though, and in either direction, is Duke Shelley.
I know. We haven't really heard.
Not a peep.
I mean, I guess he's mixing in there. But when you look at his contract, they really didn't pay Duke Shelley anything, man. So
they didn't pay anybody anything. Yeah,
but they gave him chips. They gave him nothing. They said you might, I don't know. It's just how they paid him. I just don't see how he really had a chance to really be a starter like people thought. So, and it's obviously not showing because, you got David Long playing over him. They obviously don't use PFF grades at the with the Raiders. So we're learning that.
We're getting
you don't have a data analyst that works for PFF that's giving them tips and stuff like that because you know. So David,
I feel
yeah.
No,
go ahead, Matt.
Say, I mean, yeah, that is the thing with Shelley is like, and I've sung his praises too, partially because of the PFF grades and what we've seen on Twitter and stuff like that. But he's never been a full-time starter everywhere he's in the 4 years he's been in the league. So to your point of them not giving him money, maybe that's part of it. Is like he's never really proven it. I don't know, maybe flew under the radar, had a good year at the end of last year, but never really put it together for a full season. So I mean, we'll see, but David Long, hopefully Long plays in the preseason because I'd like to see like what he can actually do and see it for myself. Because from what I've seen with him in the Rams, I was very shocked to hear that he was on the good side of the training camp reports.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, especially when I was doing my quarterback stuff and watching some Rams games, he was always getting burnt up at the end of the year. So, but if he's out there and he's playing well, then that's a good thing, especially just hearing the secondary is playing well. Obviously, Marcus Peters is doing his thing, which is good. I think he brings something to the secondary, and I think the defense might play a little better. But we still got the linebackers that we're worried about. Which, speaking of linebackers, we brought in Jalen Smith. They got Jalen Smith coming in for a visit. They signed another guy that I can't think of his name right now. I think it's Hines. I might be wrong on that.
Oh, sorry. Darius Harris.
Darius Harris. Okay, sorry about that. Darius Harris. So Darius Harris, they signed him. I don't know if he's going to make the team. I don't know if that's a thing with him. But I think Jalen Smith is a guy that if Jalen Smith gets signed, he's probably has a chance to be the starting linebacker on this team. And I don't know what that means for what's happening in practice because a lot of these things, just like them bringing in Rex Burkhead and all these guys. I know Austin Walter got hurt, but I don't know how much Austin Walter, those guys are really good. I think Rex Burkhead and Damian Williams are, pretty solid NFL running backs. So you just don't bring off the street to replace Austin Walter, So
Damian Williams was a Super Bowl MVP, right?
No.
Mahomes got it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Mahomes.
Oh yeah. Should have been the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah. So they bring him in, and they bring in Rex Burkhead. Maybe the running backs, they don't feel very comfortable with the third down backs they have right there. Maybe they want to upgrade. Same thing goes to linebacker, right? You see all these linebackers coming in, and then you talk about Jalen Smith, who is probably what you would call maybe a starting linebacker because he did last year. Most of his career, I think he kind of fell off a little bit in coverage, and being a side-to-side guy, and just speed and, kind of just injuries and all that stuff. But I think he would come in and be a starter here, though.
I mean, if Jalen Smith signs with the Raiders in the next few days, he's making the team, to your point, too. Like, that's coming from Patrick Graham because that's a guy that's played for him before. And he's actually had, like, some of the best years, or at least in recent years, with playing for Patrick Graham. So, I mean, that's the encouraging part. But, yeah, like you said, my visions of Jalen Smith, like, are him, one, like you said, not doing well in coverage, and two, looking completely lost in just about every run fit. Like that last Cowboys game when they played the Ravens. I mean, granted, it was, Lamar brings an extra element with his legs in the running game, but, like, legitimately, he got lost. He looked lost. Like, I was, like, trying to figure out how he was an NFL linebacker. But, hey.
He bounced back a little bit. He
was much better with the Giants. Much better with the Giants. I mean, like you said, not the athlete that he was coming out of Notre Dame or pre-knee injury coming out of Notre Dame or even his first few years with the Cowboys. But, I mean, the guy, again, knows the system. We've talked about it a lot with the linebackers. At this point, why the hell not? Like, I'm looking at it. Like, would Jalen Smith come in and be the best linebacker they have?
Oh, see, I don't want to say that, but
I feel like he'd obviously be the biggest name. Diablo, I mean, I guess Diablo or Spillane, you can make an argument that they're better players, but
Diablo has the most talent.
Yeah,
but I can't even say about Smith. It's the most potential. But Smith had the talent, I guess. But
I feel it's year 7 for Jalen Smith. I don't think we can go with potential anymore for him.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, he is what he is.
But again, guys played well for Graham in the past, so if they bring him in, it can't hurt, right? I mean, obviously they like him better than what was it, Kanai Malga or whatever, who's already gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's already out of there. So he got shipped out. All right, man. Any last thoughts? Man, 30-minute mark. Any last thoughts? Anything else that happened during training camp? Anything that caught your eye? I mean, we're not there, but I would,
yeah, no, I mean, not too much. I mean, like you said, like I said, talking about at the beginning, love the mentality that the team has. Obviously, we're down on them this year, not expecting much, but they're not taking that mentality, which is what you love to hear. They're out there competing. Max Crosby's out there, chopping it up, running his mouth. So I love to hear it. Love the feistiness. And again, too, we're talking about a lot of cornerbacks standing out. This is a heck of a receiving core that the Raiders have. So I think I put a lot of weight into seeing those statements. So hearing, guys like David Long Jr. figuring it out, Jacorian Bennett playing well as a rookie, that really excites me. So definitely a few more exciting things to get us juice and get us going for the season than we had, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a training camp. We're getting the football field. We get the preseason next week. You get a preseason game next week. I'm excited about that. I mean, against San Francisco. So get a little bit of a football taste, guys. And then we get some film. We get some little film breakdowns and take you guys up there with the film and get some exciting, try to see what's going on with some of Aiden O'Connell. Get the Aiden O'Connell breakdowns, right? All right, guys. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Check out the channel. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when the season revs up, it's going to be a lot more content on here. Definitely a little bit of a dead period. And then we get the preseason. We get a lot more content there. So definitely hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Definitely a lot to look out for on the Tape Don't Lie Raiders film channel. Plus, of course, this show with me and Matt. So check it out. Peace.
All right. See ya.